Okay, look, I just want to welcome Councillor Coombe and also His Worship the Mayor.
Apologies for lateness, but as you're probably aware, we attended and I spoke at the opening of the new precinct shopping. Huge crowd there, fantastic facility. And I just got to say, just a quick advert, when we've got Post Office Square finished and we've got the Harbourfront Park in there, this is just going to be a come-to place in the city. Really, really first rate. PM did the official honours, but huge interest in it, and help boost the confidence that here's an area that's creating jobs and drawing people back into the city. So the time and the timing of moving back to level 1 were both perfect. The weather was great, but I told people to pray for rain. Thank you.
No problems at all. Look, extraordinary items is none. So we move into our first one, our Regional Parks Management Plan Review. And I just want to welcome the team, and they can introduce themselves when they get up here. Kia ora mai tātou.
Kia ora koutou, ko Matt Ward taku inga, and I would like to introduce Joe Mackay to my left, who's going to be the project manager for the first part of this Regional Parks Management Plan Review, and to my right is Rachel Kelleher, who is the Regional Parks Manager. Firstly, I'd like to just echo and acknowledge the words spoken by Mook regarding the passing of Barry Green, who was most recently the Senior Ranger Conservation in the Northern Sector, so thank you so much for those words. I would also like to acknowledge the Waitaki Rangers Local Board Chair and members for their presentation today regarding their interest in the Regional Parks Management Plan Review, and also acknowledge the Friends of Regional Park who have a strong interest in the Regional Parks Network, and of course other interested parties as well who may be present today. So the purpose of this report is really to initiate the review of the Regional Parks Management Plan. The current plan is 10 years old. As Local Board member Coney mentioned, it has been really instrumental in guiding effective management of the Regional Parks Network over the last 10 years. But a comprehensive review is due, and it will meet the requirements that are set out in the Reserves Act, the Local Government Act, and also the Waitaki Rangers Heritage Area Act, which has some specific requirements regarding this review. So the report seeks to confirm the scope of the review, which will include all regional parks, including those that have been added to the regional park network, such as Taitomo, which Local Board member Coney mentioned, as well as Te Muri, which was added during this term, or during the Auckland Council's tenure of the parks. There are two exceptions to this that require further investigation and discussion with the committee, and we'll be doing that through a workshop on the 1st of July, and that's potentially adding Te Motu Hiarora, Pukatutu Island, which we have a lease for a regional park on, and also the Auckland Botanic Gardens and what our approach is to a management plan for those gardens. We're also seeking the committee's approval to fold the unfinished Te Arai variation into this review. So that was started as a variation to the old Regional Parks Management Plan. It's timely that, given we are starting a comprehensive review, that we fold that variation into this review as well. So the report sets out a timeline for the review, and this will include 2 rounds of public consultation and early and ongoing engagement with Mana Whenua and Mata Wako as well. Local boards will be involved in the review, consistent with the process agreed between local boards and the governing body. And with that, I would pass back to the Chair for any questions. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Matthew. And again, I just want to acknowledge Rachel and Joe up there. So, look, I'm going to move the recommendation and seconded by Councillor Cooper. We've heard from our local boards, and there was one particular question, and we're going to ask it in regards to Tai Tomo block in regards to that. So there was a question posed there. So is that included in regards to this particular management plan, please?
Yes, now that Taitomo is part of the Waitaki Ranges Regional Park, it'll be included in the review.
Okay then. Yeah, I'm going to open up the questions now, which is good. And at the moment, I've got yourself and Councillor Walker.
Thank you. And it was
Councillor
just
Coon.
around that process, because that Taitomo block was, we did a variation in 2017, and is that now the opportunity to take that piece of work and then put it in? It hasn't been an oversight that it's not in the now in the appendix, or is it just that this is the time to put that in there? Or was it in there? It was just that
I wrote the appendix, so perhaps I should answer yes. Taitomo is part of the Waitakere Ranges Regional Park. So, yes, the variation is already operative once you had signed it off. So under the 2010 plan. But yeah, it didn't come in as a separate regional park.
like, so you don't name it and go, there's Taitomo, it just becomes part of it, and that's why it looks like it's not in there.
That's right.
It is in there. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. That's a good distinction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Councillor Walker and then Councillor Coon.
I've just got a question as to the how of arriving at this management plan.
There's no such thing.
And in particular, I've just got a question around this management plan and the interaction of a number of other, I would suggest, very closely related strategies of council. And the ones that I identify are around pest management. Quite obviously that goes to carry dieback, which is critical. Biodiversity, which runs with that as well. Cultural issues, they are hugely significant in regional parks because often they are some of the only areas where those taonga are protected. The council's water strategy, and that's mindful that we have some huge water supply catchments within these regional parks. Our urban forest strategy, climate change adaptation and mitigation, noting that our regional parks are the largest farms by far across the Auckland region. Obviously that goes to sustainability. And quite obviously recreational planning. And so that's a broad question. If I just home in on a couple of things, and it goes to scope, I would expect that one of the things that we would be doing in this management plan is assessing the demand on the regional parks as it goes to usage. How that usage is changing, particularly in respect of carry dieback, which is meaning that people are having to be diverted from particular regional parks to other regional parks. And that might also identify the need for additional parks. So as much and all as additional parks aren't technically in scope, if the scope is considering the pressure within the existing parks and the necessity for those parks to be representative of ecosystems and a whole range of things, then I would suggest that there is a necessity for other areas to be in scope. And quite obviously, we're also identifying Te Arai, for example, as an area that's technically not a regional park, but we're bringing it into scope, and no doubt that there are other circumstances that may also play. So my question is around the scope, around the interaction with the other strategies, and that might also prompt a question around the fitness for purpose of some of those other strategies that are necessary to inform this management plan.
So Matthew, have you got a response, please, or the team?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Walker. So in terms of those other strategies, that will be one of the key things that the team will be looking at as part of this Regional Parks Management Plan review, is how it aligns with other council strategies, particularly around pest management, climate change. In regards to acquisition, that sits outside of the management plan process. It's guided by our open space provision policy and by the acquisition process that council follows in terms of new land as well.
So,
Okay, then,
one related question, very short one, Mr.
Well,
Chair.
yep, and
And-
just to let you know that, Wayne, before you start, just to let you know that
sure.
if it's out of scope, it will not be put in
So-
regards to this.
So in respect of the management plan, it's quite obviously that you're going to have to identify the resources to sort them to support the management plan. So is the scope going to include any commentary around financials in order for us to actually deliver on the management plan? And I'm mindful, Mr. Chair, that we're approaching our long-term plan and the critical requirement for us to inform that process.
Yep, so look, I don't, look, we'll end up leaving it, doesn't need a response because we're moving into the early stages. You've heard the comments. I'm just going to leave it at that and then hand it over to Councillor Coombe
So was that
with your one.
was that a response from the
No,
office?
that's a response from the chair, which is it's in the early stages in regards to any financials. We've got a workshop coming up, Councillor Walker, and I suggest at the workshop, if you really wanted to end up asking it there, well then let's do that, because this process is in regards to 10 years and it's about the review. So
I wanted to ask it now.
Yeah, but,
All right,
but
thank you.
that's a decision, that's all right, that's fine. Councillor Coombe.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Kia ora koutou. Thank you for bringing this report to us. The Auckland Domain has quite an unusual governance structure, and it's very, very ably chaired by Councillor Simpson. So this question is totally unrelated to the current arrangement. But I think in terms of this review, it has been talked over the years that it might be an opportunity to bring Auckland Domain to manage it as a regional park. And I don't think it's ever really gone through any proper assessment or review. So I'm just wondering why it's not recommended that we consider it as part of the review, and we might come out the other end and decide the governance structure should continue as it is. But so my question is, why wouldn't we have a look at Auckland Domain as part of this review as well? Kia ora.
Yeah, I'll get cracking. So we've stuck reasonably faithfully to the current schedule in the long-term plan in terms of what the list of regional parks are. We haven't sought to investigate other parks that have those particular arrangements, or indeed additional land that might be added through local boards advocating, for example, for particular parks to be added to the regional parks network. We've simply stuck, I guess, to the scope at the stage, but that's certainly something that if the committee wanted to explore through workshops in further defining the scope of the review, then we'd take your lead on that.
Thank you. So just to clarify, Mr. Chair, this is an opportunity perhaps to bring it, to discuss it at the workshop, just so that we make sure we've considered the scope fully, that has been fully investigated.
Yeah, there is, but don't forget there's some policy work at Kataraina's team around those that are not regional parks and coming into a regional park or the subcommittee, but that paper is coming to the committee in regards to the recognition of parks that are not currently under the regional parks management as such. But look, no problems at the workshop in regards to us discussing it and see where it fits. But there is some policy work coming through to this committee. So, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that door's not closed.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the door's not closed. But, I mean, we need to then look at that policy work that's coming through first in regards to this particular one and where that
Okay,
sits
thank you.
under this piece of work that is now.
And just to be really clear, I'm not advocating for it. I would get in real big trouble with the local board if that was considered to be, I was taking advocacy position. I just think it needs to be in the mix.
It's a discussion that will
Yeah.
happen.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, Councillor Simpson and then Watson, and then, and Matuamuk.
Kia ora, thank you. Look, I noticed that this is obviously within your current budget allocation. I'm just interested in the cost of the whole review. Do you have a ballpark figure for that?
Typically, a complete review of the management is around about 60,000, so that would be excluding staff costs.
Very reasonable, thank you.
Councillor Watson and then Matua.
And maybe get you guys to do the marina strategy while you're at it. That'll
Here.
save us a bit of money.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was your question.
No.
Oh,
no.
sorry.
Just a compliment on the cost effectiveness of this review, Mr. Chair. My question kind of follows on a bit from Waitakere Ranges local board, and it goes to the comments and the local impacts and local board views, and this notion or this principle rather that in the guidance to maintain a balance between governance roles and efficiency of the process. Clearly, when you look at the regional parks, there's a real grouping. So there's some local boards that are really impacted and have a number of regional parks and have a degree of expertise, if I don't mind saying so, in terms of many years of, although not running their regional parks, being in the local board, have the local community, etc., etc. So I'm curious to know, in practical terms, how the process plans to take advantage of that expertise, other than the usual kind of, we'll get back to the local board with feedback and everyone will feed in. So we have boards like the one that came here today, most of whom have turned up. We have ones in Rodney, which have a large number of regional parks, and also in the Hibiscus and Bays area. We have big regional parks, local boards very much involved, are very aware, and way more so than other local boards, naturally enough, who don't have the actual parks in their ward. So at the end of all that, how are we going to kind of up the contribution or the involvement of those particular local boards in this process, in light of that comment about balance in the report?
Thank you. That's a very good question. Through the chair, straight after, or when this went out, the local board services contacted local board staff, support staff, and so far we've had 6 local boards who have expressed interest in this review. So first step is to work out, and they are indeed the ones who have regional parks in their areas. So there's that clear grouping already starting to occur. In terms of involving them in a meaningful way, part of the engagement process with the community, which would come through in the initial consultation, including the one coming up, the next question to those boards will be, how can we work with you to talk with your communities? And that will start a good process there. I think Sandra Coney had mentioned that in her presentation as well. So I think that will be a really strong way. And then, of course, I think as we mentioned in the report, there are 2 key input periods where we would go to those local boards who've said that they're interested, and either workshop or do a business meeting with them or whatever they want to get their formal feedback after the public have had their feedback. So, yeah.
Quick follow-up, Mr. Chair. In terms of that process, then, and I don't think it might be a conflict of interest, but is there a kind of way councillors can be built into that too, or are we just restricting it to the local boards? I mean, it's. Yeah.
I'd say it's all of us in regards to this. So sorry.
Yeah.
So there will be workshops with councillors as part of this process, and I understand that there could be a potential for local board chairs to also be invited to some of those workshops where they have particular interests they want to express.
Yeah, they have been and been invited to the workshops around this. So it'll definitely be us together around the table as we go through this review. As well as our community, mana whenua and Mātā Waka. It's just, it'll be all of us. Yeah. Matua Mook.
Kia ora, I'd just like to thank you for turning up today. Simple question, really look forward to the engagement process net with mana whenua and Mātā Waka. Have you given any thought around, there's a kaleidoscope of entities and relationships prior 2010 and then inclusive of 2010 till now, but with post-settlement treaty settlements, the entities that you've previously or those arrangements have been engaging with have changed. Have you given any thought to or any heads up to those, I guess, other entities that mightn't be there in the next process? Or they may be or may not be?
Yes, we have been looking at and working out who is appropriate to engage with as we prepare a mana whenua engagement plan and look at, you know, who should engage with, and looking at the history and looking at what settlements have come through or in the process and that kind of thing. So, yes, it is quite a kaleidoscope, and we are meeting with a principal advisor from the Independent Māori Statutory Board next week as well, just to start talking about some of those things. But we haven't yet started engagement until this formal kick-off.
Kia ora, thank you.
Now, look, if there's no further questions, I just want to make one comment, and that is Councillor Fletcher as the portfolio holder. I had a kōrero with her this morning. She has sent out what she wants to be put into the mix, and Lisa has that. So just wanted to let you know, as the portfolio holder, she has been contacted and we've had that kōrero. So it's been moved and seconded, so I will put it. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 9.